All right. Hi, Dave. Hi, Drew. Looks like we're back for day two.
We are back. It's exciting to be here. I'm glad to be joined with my guys, Marc and Dave. And what an exciting day we had yesterday. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I want to welcome everybody that is here logging on with us. This is a global conference. We've got people checking in the chat already. We've got Brazil in the house. We've got Canada and Boston in the house, excuse me, and people filling in as we speak. Make sure you all hit up that chat. We'd love to interact with you all in real time as these panels and discussions are going. But yesterday was an amazing day, jam-packed with activity, jam-packed with really great takeaways and actionable items for everybody who was logged on and everybody who will hopefully catch that replay. Marc and Dave, let's knock some of these things down that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, let's do it. We had that list we were talking about yesterday. One of the things that I talked about was like the machine. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you mentioned that machine learning no longer science fiction. Quite interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. We're getting requests from customers that it's no longer roadmap. We're going to be working with machine learning. Now it's like, hey, we have a machine learning model. We're not sure how to. We don't have the infrastructure to really run it. We built it. We just don't know how to scale and deploy and manage it. And so it's kind of shifted from on the roadmap to it's really happening. So it's one of these where we need to be getting on board or you're going to get left behind kind of thing. So yeah, it's no longer a science fiction thought.
The train is leaving the station, gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, like you talked about yesterday, Drew, right? Like or you didn't talk, well, you talked about the 2060, or I think John mentioned it yesterday, which was are you going to be around in 2060? Right. And I think if you don't grasp onto some of this newer tech, you're not going to be around in 2060. So that's the way I look at it.
Okay, it's interesting too, because I think like you said, the data is there now too. Like there's no reason not to start, right? There's the technology's there to get the data to start to feed those types of models and really take things to the next level. So it's exciting stuff, actually.
Exactly.
Definitely exciting stuff. And it does seem a little bit daunting at first, but I think that is the great thing about not only panels like this, but the fact that the culture is turning around, right? And the culture is starting to dictate where we go with technology. And like you all said earlier, we're here. It's not a mythical creature anymore. This is something that we can go out, we can see, we can put hands on. And if for no reason at all, if that's not a good reason enough to start making this transformation or to dive deeper into this transformation, everyone else is, right? And you have to start looking at how are you going to stay competitive? How are you going to continue to survive? Like you said, through 2060, Mr. Pillar made a great example there. And those seeds have to be planted and start being sown right now. Gentlemen, what else did we see?
Well, we're looking at. Go ahead, Marc.
I was going to say the democratize your data piece that John was talking about yesterday. Spot on, right? Getting the data that's out there into the hands of the people who actually need it and can use it and break down those silos. I think you're going to see a lot more of that again as the generations start to change in the manufacturing sites. You get the younger generations coming in; they're going to be, I think, more willing, more able to work with that data as well and have great ideas. And if we can enable that, I think that's just going to expedite change and expedite efficiencies in what's happening on the shop floor.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's the getting the data to the right people in a timely manner and make it easy to get that data, because everybody has different information that they want to look at. So, how do we get that to the right hands quickly and easily?
Yeah, one thing that we'll talk about later today around that, this kind of points back into your shadow IT discussions, where people want access to that data. And that's, I think you see that when those shadow IT systems pop up and people are trying to tap into data to solve very specific or personal problems in their operation, in their cell, on their line. So being able to kind of manage that aspect of how do I enable that data to go out, but keeping it secure and not having this huge cost center that's not supportable or maintainable. So there's trade-offs that can be made. So I'm looking forward to that session later on today.
Yeah, and I think the whole democratizing your data actually talks a lot. It's a big umbrella. Right? We're talking about, adding context to the data, creating a unified namespace, building data models, using ML. Like all those fall under this democratize your data kind of header, umbrella. Like all of that is part of the getting the data to the people at the right time, like I said.
Yeah,
So
and I think the key, the key to that too, getting the data there is super important. But I think you'll talk about this later too, is the context of that data, making it super clear,
right,
why that data is important or what that data is actually representing, not just a value, right? So if people are looking at the data the same way, that's going to really break down the barriers that you could get by not contextualizing your data.
Yeah, I think the days of looking at a tag name value and a timestamp, or like that's still good for SCADA and historians, but start talking to any data scientists and they're like, no, I need context. What does this data mean? So
yeah,
I think there's going to have to be a shift in thinking from the OT side about that.
Absolutely. So, those are a couple of the takeaways. And ladies and gentlemen that are watching, I want to remind you again that Marc and Dave will be launching a Do More with Data bi-weekly, right? Podcast that will be coming out. And this is just a taste that you see right now. They'll be diving into all of these topics and more. So keep your eyes out for Marc and Dave. Awesome depictions right here. Shout out to the illustrator. But keep your eye out on these experts breaking down things with the help of you all, the audience, and continuing to take all of the topics that you see today, plus more, even further, and doing even more. So we've got another one, number 3, up here on our list of key takeaways from yesterday. Marc, you want to take that one for me?
Yeah, I think building solutions as a collaborative process is spot on. Sean really nailed it. We really want to get the right people involved in building the solution. So not just the executives, not just the management, but the people on the shop floor who can benefit, and then making sure that those people understand this isn't what's a game changer for their job, but it doesn't mean their job is going to go away, right? So it's enabling them to work better, to work smarter, and hopefully give them a better work-life balance as well, right? If they're more efficient, maybe there's less overtime, maybe the skill upskills the job. So really involving the entire stack of people to get the right answers.
Yeah, I think that definitely talks about the use cases and things that you can do, because again, people are democratizing your data fits right into this, right? It's getting the data to the right people and what they want to see. But there's also the collaborative process of getting the right teams in. So Marc, when you put together your workshops, right, we start talking about infrastructure workshop, I'm making sure that there's somebody from the IT space in that meeting, because they're the ones going to be answering questions like, firewall rules, setting up all the other infrastructure. Where is it going to live? How's the data going to flow up through the, through the plan, through the security that's already in place? So that's critical of having it there, and also having like the business people, like what's the value? How is this going to be, add value to the company and the value of what they're producing? So you need to really have all the stakeholders involved, and like I said, I think getting them in earlier is better.
Yeah, I'd agree. And then giving them the real reasons for why we're doing something is important, because that allows them
Right.
to buy in and give their point of view as well. And a lot of times the answer isn't what you thought, right? So it's a journey. You're never really done. So getting the right people involved and enabling them to be part of that journey will give you better results for sure.
Right.
So that goes into the next takeaway, and this one was actually one of mine, and it talks about developing your bench. But I want to talk about something that we kind of have been alluding to, and it was a theme for myself, being a workforce person, that really stuck with me throughout each one of the conversations yesterday. And it seems as if the tables are turning. It seems as if when we first started talking about, IoT, automation, Industry 4.0, and all of these things, it was more of something that we thought of that would only benefit businesses, right? And we talked about the amount of things people would be able to make. Production would increase when we started doing these things. We talk about, opening margins, speed to market. We talked about not having people that are at the machines because we can't find them, but being able to replace them with different solutions. And usually we talked about IoT, Industry 4.0, and how they benefit the business. But lately, and on the conversations yesterday, it seems as if the narrative changes. It seems as if the tables are turning, and it seems as if the IoT and Industry 4.0 and automation, all these different things, big data, are actually helping the workforce and the workers in ways that we didn't talk about before. It's actually helping them learn and skill up quicker, right? And catch, a lot of that legacy information that we talked about. They're getting it passed down quicker. We're talking about being enabled as a worker to do more, to upskill, like you said, Mark, and able to, use your body less and use your mind more in our industry. We talked about being able to get into the industry and be skilled up, be a better worker, be a more productive worker because of these things. And I think that is the new culture that the youth is also helping bring into the industry. And now the tables are turning. I mean, when we talked about Margin Foods and we talked to Mr. Pillar, we talked about different ways that they were using these technologies in real time that were benefiting the company on their bottom dollar. But when the benefit came, it was usually through the worker being able to be more transparent, right? So even the companies that are benefiting off of all of these things are benefiting when they have the worker and the actual, we talked about knowing your client, right? Having your worker have the best, have the most use of data, having the most enablement. Do you guys agree that these tables are kind of turning and the narrative is changing?
Yeah, I would agree. I think we're in a disruptive phase right now with it. So we talked about IoT. I liken it to maybe the smartphone. When the smartphone came out, yeah, we were making phone calls. Hey, we're gonna put our calendar on there, our to-do list, kind of the stuff we've already done, just it was on a piece of paper or in a book or something. We're gonna start making that digitized and put it in my pocket, put it in your pocket. Nobody thought that we were gonna be able to summon a car, from a phone anywhere and have it paid for your phone and make that easy, or to be able to go to a website, click one button, and it shows up, the next day. Like nobody thought of that. So I think we're at that phase where, yeah, we're talking about kind of the same use cases, efficiencies, OE, throughput, downtime, those kinds of use cases we've been doing for a while. But now I think with this younger generation coming in, you're going to start seeing new use cases we never thought of, and that the technology is there now, with ML, and not just ML, but with ML or just having more data. Brent from Philips was talking about this yesterday, where they're now starting to bring in, building information, that the HVAC, the humidity, because that affects their process. Now they can start tracking that. Now they can start predicting it. Now they can start controlling that. And they weren't, they haven't done that, and they weren't really able to do that. Or if they were able to do it, it was just such a heavy lift, nobody did. But that's what I think. I think we're just going to start seeing new use cases we haven't even thought of yet coming out there that, that we're going to start seeing. And I think the new generation is really going to help that.
Yeah,
So
I agree,
to wrap
Dave.
it up, Oh, go ahead, Mark.
But look, I was going to say, I think what the key to that whole thing is getting the data again back into the hands of the new generation. Just like getting smartphones in the hands of the masses drives the change, right? So the more data you get into the hands of the people who can actually use it, people are smart, and when they're encouraged and when they have the right tools and when they're part of the team, they're going to come up with great ideas, and that's what's going to drive things really, really fast, I think. But that's a culture shift where you really need to enable the shop floor people as much as you enable the upper management layer as well. So, and I think data does that, and I think that's what you were alluding to, Drew, is that's how you build your bench and you build a strong team, but the data is the foundation of that. So everybody's dipping into it, and then away you go.
1,000%. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. This month I heard that Litmus was launching a new MQTT broker. What can you guys tell me about that?
Sure. So we're going to add actually a third SKU to our product. We'll have a third product now. It's going to be an MQTT broker. MQTT has really kind of risen in the industrial space as the message broker of choice. There are other message brokers out there, but from an industrial standpoint, it seems to be MQTT. One of the things that we see, in manufacturing are people trying to build unified namespaces. They're trying to expose that data, democratize the data like we've been talking about, and get that data out. This is a great way of doing it. So we looked at some of the options that are out there, and they've been used in more generically. So they've been used in not just manufacturing, but they've been used in commercial and, different websites and different services have used it. So what we're looking at, because we're so focused on manufacturing and IoT, we said we're going to create an MQTT broker to really complete that stack in the factory. So we're going to be able to connect to PLCs and sensors and databases, get that data in, transform it, and then expose it to an MQTT broker, our MQTT broker. So it's all very tightly integrated with our product, but you can still use it with other MQTT devices. So it's not just ours. It'll be a generic MQTT there. From the standpoint of some of the under the hood, what's going on, the way we've designed it, it's going to be clustered. So you'll have multiple brokers that are spinning up or turning off depending on how much volume of data is coming through, or if something fails, a new one will start up. So it'll be resilient as well. It's being designed, or it's designed to handle millions of tags. So it's going to have a lot of throughput available in that. And I think really the journey for a customer that's implementing it, it's going to be a lot nicer than some of the traditional MQTT brokers out there that are very, command line driven or config file kind of driven. This will be more wizard driven and walk you through all the settings to set it up. So it'll be a little easier to do all of that. So yeah, I think it's really just completing that stack within the factory, and that's the trend that we've been seeing is that MQTT broker kind of is the heart of that unified namespace, on-prem. You can also run it in cloud, so you're going to have that MQTT to MQTT kind of broker-to-broker communication. You'll also see plugins for things like MQTT to Kafka or AMQP or other types of brokers as well. So it'll be a really full functional type of product, that we're designing. We're getting great input from some of our customers and partners of what they would like to see with it as well. So yeah, we're talking about having it, high performance, like I said, millions of tags, millions of messages per second. It'll be very secure. We take security very seriously at Litmus. So that's from day one, we're building it to be secure. Like I said, it's scalable because you're going to be able to add, it'll be clustered. So it'll automatically add more brokers as needed. It can scale in the cloud, so you can have a local unified namespace, and then in the cloud have an enterprise kind of namespace. It'll be encrypted, obviously, out of the box, so nothing having to change there, and basically be able to deploy anywhere, whether it's a VM, a Docker, Kubernetes, bare metal, whatever. So be able to deploy it anywhere that way.
I think the other nice thing about it too is I know our product team has spent a lot of hours with our customers and with focus groups to kind of find out what the limitations are currently and all that surveying, all that discussion, all the feedback has gone into the product as well. So it's you can call it almost a crowdsourced from an ideation standpoint.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I always found limitations on some of the existing MQTT brokers was just the throughput, right? It was kind of limited, and it was designed for remote stations, right? When it was first created, it was designed for those remote locations. So your data was finite. But Mark, we're dealing with customers that have millions of tags in a factory, right? And it's then all of a sudden you're talking about multiple brokers and having more stuff to manage, and it just adds complexity. So that's one of the things that that's what I like about it, is just that volume and scalability that we've got.
Well, everybody in the chat, everybody watching, make sure that you keep your eyes open for that new broker dropping this month. Also, keep your eyes open for the Do More with Data podcast, which is also dropping soon. But we're going to get this show kicked off and introduce these panelists and panels for today. Thank you, Marc and Dave. We'll be checking in with you all again in a second. But here's what we've got coming up for the rest of the day. We've got an exciting lineup for you all with a lot of jam-packed information coming from Phillips, Tarani, some consultants who are advisors on data for manufacturing. We've got the big 3 sessions, starting with the growth playbook. How are we going to scale for success? That session features Michael J. from Tarani, my man Charlie from Google, and Dave from Litmus, talking about the best practices for scaling. Right after that will be followed with the session on shadow IT. It's always enlightening. It's always really cool. It's going to feature data consultants from Twin Thread. John Pillar, who we got to meet yesterday, he's always dropping gems. And Cognite and Kyndryl, we're excited to hear from them. And the last session that you all will see today is why contextualization matters. And it's really a great session to wrap up this entire Do More with Data event. We're going to make everything make sense, contextualize it for your particular needs, and we are going to get rolling. I hope you are ready. Remember, continue to hit up that chat as we go through the day. Make sure that anything that you're hearing, if it piques some of your interest, tie in with us. If we can't get to it here live, we'll get to it on the chat. And again, Marc and Dave will be dropping the Do More with Data podcast. And if we can't get to things now, they'll be taking some deep dives on all of that. So please stay tuned. We'll be back in about 5 minutes with our first panel.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Drew.